Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Monday, November 15th. Look at that, we're already past the 15th of the month point, so half of November gone very quickly. Again, another month that's going by very quickly. And don't forget, next week, Thanksgiving. So we'll have a day off on Thursday and then half a day on Friday. So rapidly this month is going by. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only. The video is for education purposes only. You could read the whole risk disclaimer here, and if the screen is a little bit blurry, just give it a little bit more time for the video to render on YouTube. Theme of the day, well, a couple things. It kind of was a choppy session. It looked like it was just a kind of difficult tape, I think, overall for the indices. I will go over a couple of the movers that I thought were interesting for the day, but overall, what did we have? We have the S&P that was basically just flat for the day. But keep in mind, all of the indices started in the green, so that sometimes can kind of just make a more difficult trading environment, especially if you come in and you've got positions on like I do. It makes it a little bit more challenging and tough to kind of, I always look to take some targets in the beginning of the day, but you had to be pretty quick with some things. The small caps, they were leading for the coming into the day, and you can see I've got this highlighted in red over here. They went down almost 1% through the session. So again, you'll find me going through in these videos what the overall performance was for the day, but I also like to see, hey, were people buying things over the day or were people selling things? And if they were selling things, what were they really hitting hard, and vice versa? If they were accumulating, what were they really going after for the day? So, the small caps finished down for the day, and that's a reversal to the downside. Almost 1% they sold off. Also, the micro caps, which I have on here, they got hit a little bit more. They were down 1% through the cash session, so 9:30 to 4 o'clock. So what really kind of, I try to kind of get a sense of risk on, risk off, a little bit of my own personal, sentiment gauge, or just overall gauge of risk taking, and whether or not I want to be trading fast or trading a lot in for the day, or if I want to be more sitting on my hands. This was a day of, and I put this on Twitter earlier too. I talk about things in the trading room first. Whatever I put on Twitter, it's always secondary. No offense, but I manage a trading room, and our members come first, right? And I think that would be, I think you would probably know that at this point. But what I said was, hey, we got there's things. So I don't like particularly when it's more of a risk off day, a day where I'm not going to do a lot of trading. When you've got the VIX is up for the day. Interesting that the VIX did not finish on the highs of the session. I think we topped out somewhere around 12 o'clock today, about 11:50. I think the VIX hit about a 1740. That was up about 5 or 6%, and so still finished positive for the day. But you could see it gave back, especially like right around the end of the day. You had the VIX down, down 3% over the session, but over the day up 1%, which is not that big of a deal. And overall, this data that we're going through, I don't think there's anything really alarming in today's price action. It just wasn't a great day to do a lot of trading in my opinion. Another thing too was the breadth that gave us a sense of how today was. I think when we opened up, our breadth indicator was slightly positive, and then it drifted lower pretty quickly and stayed lower for most of the day. Why don't we go ahead and look at the raw numbers for the day, because I didn't really get it. I think I looked at them at some point during the session. But you had the Dow, for example, of course, 30 names in the Dow, 17 decliners, 13 advancers. The S&P was actually fine, 280 advancing names, 224 declining. And then in the NASDAQ, which again, you've got more small caps in there, 1,264 advancing names, 614 declining. So again, if you look at the bottom left of our screen here, this breadth indicator showed Nasdaq down for most of the session, and same thing with ARCA, which is a lot of ETFs, but the NYSE was positive. So mixed breadth. At one point, again, right around where that VIX was the highest of the day, the breadth was around the lowest. And then the other point was that interest rates were really moving today. So for some reason, I seem to start with the bonds chart before I go over some of the others. Why don't we do that? I like to get that out of the way. But overall, as I kind of go through some of these charts, you're going to have days where, for example, Friday. I thought Friday was one hell of a day to be trading. There was a lot of opportunities. There was a lot of movers. There, I want to, be doing generally a bit more trading in those situations. Because you could really scalp a little bit more if you're doing some day trading. I always get the question sometimes from members, and some members don't like to day trade. Some members do like to day trade a lot. My bread and butter is swing trading. Probably about 70-80% of what I do is swing trading in terms of my trading account, and I do a small portion of day trading when it really fits, right? So I'll get to my positions, but yeah. So bonds, while it was a big move today, TLT was down 1.3%. The 30-year bond futures were down only 60 basis points. Remember, they trade, they trade outside of the cash hours, so there's going to be a little bit of a difference there because of number one, futures trade at different hours than just TLT trades, which is again just 9:30 to 4 o'clock, and then of course it's different duration, right? 30-year versus much less duration. TLT, they call it plus 20-year, but the duration is much lower than that. So in any event, look at where this thing held in here. So kind of back to where we were. So while it was a big move for bonds in terms of the magnitude of the move for the day, we're basically right back to where we were consolidating about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And if you want to look at TLT2, notice how it just stopped at the top of value for the month, right? Also, around the 50-day moving average, 200-day moving average is down a little further. But again, this was that consolidation area that we saw about a week and a half ago, right at the 50-day moving average. So am I overly concerned with the move in bonds today? No. Like I said, it was a decent move, but if it's basically just right back to where we were just a little while ago. So sideways. For now, these bonds are pretty damn sideways. There will be knee-jerk reactions like we saw last Wednesday, right? And I think there's another big bond auction this week. But these are things that we're going to have to pay attention to if they really kind of get out of range. And again, I start with bonds because there's so many implications. Higher rates are make it more of a headwind for the high growth stocks, right? One other point too that I usually don't touch upon. Did you guys see the U.S. dollar today? When I looked at this pre-market, I go over all the currencies in the trading room in the morning during the pre-market session that we hold at Tribeca Trade Group. But everything was about flat. So over the session, the dollar really got stronger again, and we are now. We had this one day, I think it was last Wednesday, where we had strength, and then we had a couple small days after that. But, the dollar is strengthening here. So, that's also, could be why some things got hit a little bit harder. Remember, and I'm talking very generally. Please, if you're a super macro person and you know the exact relationships, you don't have to private message me and tell me so. But I know enough to get by with some of these macro things. In fact, such as currencies and bonds. When the dollar goes up, it's generally a headwind for stocks. Right? It's a headwind for a lot of companies that do that have foreign operations, right? That have customers overseas. Not every company has customers overseas, but also if they're buying things, right? If they're buying some of their products from overseas, some of their inputs that goes into their final product, right? They're going to pay more because the dollar costs, the dollar is more expensive, right? A depreciating dollar right? Am I saying that right, or do I have that the opposite way? Actually, no, that's wrong. If your input cost will see, I gotta always check myself. Your input cost will actually go down. So it's not bad in that situation. But if you are selling goods overseas, final products, right, and the dollar goes up, the products become more expensive. Okay, so let me stick to that. Now I'll get away from this conversation because I already messed this up. I already messed that up a little bit. But sometimes you do have to kind of think about what's bad and what's good. But generally, a stronger dollar is not the best thing for stocks. All right. So S&P. What is there anything that we really have learned today from the daily chart? Not really. We just consolidated a little bit after the big move up on Friday, right? And like I said already, that we gave back early gains. There's a level to watch for this week. Every week we get a new value area. If you're not familiar, I do get some questions about what are you talking about value areas? Value areas are based on volume at price, right? And what we do is we use statistics. So this market profile that you see in the background, right? This is last week's all the volume, right, that occurred, right, at a specific price, right? So again, rather than having the volume on the bottom, right, down here, right, it is more, to me, much more significant when you associate the price that it happens. So if you use the volume profile, right, it will associate the volume and where the volume occurred, the time, as well as the price, and it will give you a little bit more information. And then what we do is we take it another level. Besides just using the market profile and volume shelves and all that, we take it a much more important things than just a volume shelf, is where and the time that occurred at. And what you'll get is we have our own formula for this, but it's roughly around one standard deviation of all of that information, and that becomes really statistically significant. And you could see, for example, last week we talked a lot about this 4664 level, right? We held that support pretty well, and then once we broke, you could see what happens, right? So that was last week's top of value, and you get a new value area when you're on the 1 hour chart every week, right? So this value area that we just got, right, for this week is based on last week's price action. And you could see the consolidation around the top of value, which is right around 4682. So bottom line, right? Translation for you. If you are bullish the market, you don't really want to see things below value, right? That is weakening and trending down. If we're inside value, it's chop basically, and we're moving in a range, right? As traders, we want things to move. We want things to trend, right? Especially if you're a trend trader, or if you're a swing trader, you want things to trend because you're going to make money that way, right? And what we want to see is for a move outside of value, and that would be out in price discovery for the week. Okay, we want to be trending. So above, and again, it doesn't mean that we immediately start to trend. We're just dealing with a lot less resistance once we're outside of the value area. Okay, so again, I'm on the 1 hour chart. This is the value area for the week, and then of course the value area for the month is all the way down here. Right, so we have been in price discovery for most of October. Once we got out of value, once we got out of the value area for October, and we started the month above value. So we've been trending, right, and that's why it's important to see when that happens. Okay, and then so that's basically it. So the one thing that I don't like, right, is that we're in value now for the month. But again, we could jump back above this like in the overnight session. It'll be pretty easy. All right, so we're not that far, and we'll pay attention to that. NASDAQ for the week, we're a little bit more deeper inside value, and then Russell has a little bit of a different picture. That actually broke below value. So this is going to be just quick analysis here, is that we broke value and then we're retesting, right? Now, we could retest and we could fail and start heading back lower. So the level that you want to watch there is 2404. All right, so that's a lot of index analysis. That's overall just explanation. And then here's my trades for today, right? Not much. I try and sit on my hands as much as possible when, look at the difference between what I traded on Friday, right? A lot of opportunities on Friday. Today, not so much. Bad breath, VIX higher, rates higher, and price sinking into value is, hey, that's to me risk off, and I make adjustments. Right? It's important. Sometimes I see when I have newer traders in the room, or when I see newer traders on Twitter, they're doing the exact same thing a lot of times every single day. They're not making any adjustments to what the market is giving you. Remember, we don't control the market, right? We make adjustments based on what the market is doing, right? I talked about this too in the macro video this weekend, right? We talked about a couple of the events that we have to worry about. This week, for example, we know that option expiration, right? And I'll bring up, I put out a chart. I won't go into this because the video is already 15 minutes long, but I put out a chart on Twitter about the S&P performance around option expiration weeks. And this year, it's a weird phenomenon. We've been weak, and I don't know if it's just option expiration or if it's just the third week of the month. It's generally been a bit weaker. Okay, so I kind of have that in the back of your mind. So we can't control, like, if we're going to get further weakness this week, which I don't know because I don't have a crystal ball. How are you going to make your adjustments based on that? Right, so it's just something to think about. All right, so just to go over a few, I don't have that many charts for you. That's kind of why I'm talking about overall. But I thought that there was a few interesting option trades that hit the tape. Datadog saw some December calls. Clearly this is a name that's been very strong and doing a little bit of consolidation after that big earnings gap. Again, big move already that Datadog has been going through. Over the last year, it's been huge, but apparently somebody's looking for this to go up to 210 by December option expiration. Another trade that was interesting today too was a firm, right, which is right smack in the middle of the value area. So going back to what I already talked about, when something's in the middle of the value area, I really don't have much edge, right? I got to see which way it decides to go. It's a pretty wide value area too, which is tougher for trading because even if it rallies, I would probably take profits at 160 rather than look for a breakout, because it's so wide. So this stock could be in a little bit of consolidation station for now, but I will watch and pay attention. But yes, somebody went out to February, which again, way past this month, November. And maybe that stock will begin to trend again. They did the 150-200 call spread, decent sized trade in that one. So that's one I wanted to mention. I thought Tesla was really interesting today. We know that Elon is selling shares. I would assume he's getting closer to the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of how much he's selling. Right? I would imagine he was in there selling again today. The level to watch, which is what I quoted on Twitter, is 1020. Let me just turn this on here. Sorry. Rather than guess, just put our labels on here on the indicator. All right, so 1023 and change. Right, I would want to see price get back above that. It's a really nice bar for the day. Nice hammer bar for the day. But yeah, it really got going. Also 1014. So this 1 hour bar, and then it had some follow through. But notice what the value areas did for you, right? It told you that 1014 is a sticky level, and sure enough, just like we looked on the S&P 1 hour chart, 1014 is a sticky level. Notice this this bar as well could not break inside the value area. So again, it's very statistically significant based on that volume profile. But yeah, it was a big move. Right, 986 all the way up. Also, you could see on the 5-minute bar, it failed to close inside value. So again, big move, but really did not do enough to turn the corner to convince me to do anything crazy in Tesla today. Other than if you wanted to scalp, you certainly could have made some money scalping in Tesla today. Here was the little trade that I put on today. Here's a small trade just to participate. I put on a weekly debit call spread and sold a put spread. I think that it has a chance to kind of consolidate here. So at the very least, well, I shouldn't say the very least, but if it does consolidate and just go sideways, this trade will basically, I'm using the credit put spread to pay for the call spread. So net it's only going to cost me 40 cents. But if Tesla breaks down further, then obviously my risk is bigger than that, right? But that's a trade that I put on for Tesla this week in case it wants to bounce a little bit further. I'm sure we're going to hear people tweeting about Tesla later on once we hear how much Elon sold for the day. What else? A few other names. Boeing, definitely an interesting name. There's some speculation in terms of whether or not China will be buying Tesla planes again. What's changed here? Well, number one, look at the volume in Boeing, right? And a break over the 200-day moving average. This is where this thing stalled last time, right? So it is doing something different. Notice it had this breakdown and check back, and it's been a nice couple weeks of rally. So now you got something to trade against, right? Which is the 200-day moving average, as well as if you want to further stop to 226, which is the top of value. And then you can kind of look for targets based on overhead supply, which is those virgin point of controls, right? So 237 could be an area. This is what we went over pre-market, as well as 243, but 237 would be the first thing that I would be paying attention to. Just a handful of other names in different groups. TTD continued, had some strength again today, up another 5%. Again, this is, to me, what happens when a name goes sideways for a while and has some new information that's really good. The institutions are often buying that stock up. Lulu, that was one of my favorite setups going into today. It did make a turn. I hit one target because I'm not being greedy right now with this week, as well as retail sales that are coming out in terms of economics. Also, LYV had a nice turn today, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red bars and moved back up. SEDG, I caught another target with this one. Right, that was a solar trade we put on last week, swing trade. MTTR, big move today. Really, really nice move on big volume. It's a name to watch for tomorrow. That does get you out. So I think that's a new closing high for this stock. This is Matterport. I had a couple other names. I wanted to talk about the pot stocks because they've been getting a lot of attention. It kind of felt like a little bit of sell the news. Our indicator, right, Market Webs, basically telling you that there was this virgin point of control. Again, if you're not familiar with what a virgin point of control is, it's where a lot of buyers and sellers have previously met up at and price has not revisited. So again, often acts like a gap. It's overhead supply. And sometimes once you tag that area, you see a fade, right? And that's exactly what I put on Twitter earlier, before that even happened. I said, hey, watch that virgin point of control, because it is what it is. I know, a lot of people get excited about these pot stocks, but they're all in downtrends. It's very difficult for a name group to get out of a downtrend. You could see these vicious bounces like we've had, really impressive bounce. It is what it is. It's a very impressive bounce from the lows. But you have to understand that it's just a bounce. Okay, until this thing gets above the 200-day moving average and starts to trend, and again, that would be a fine trade too. If it got all the way up to 38, make some people a lot of money who've been sitting, holding these stocks for a long time. But I think, my guess is that this 33 level could be all that you see a little bit. If this does come down to 30, watch to see how this group acts around $30, right? That would not be a bad outcome. If it comes in here and holds $30 and then maybe builds a little bit, then you might be able to see something else here. But I would be paying attention to both that 33 level for resistance as well as the 30 level for support. All right, guys, we'll end it here. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you guys back in the room tomorrow morning. Thanks.